Welcome back, and we're going to continue with some of the stuff that was told to you in last week's show, hosted by Tom Gibson with Dwight Lilly and Kenny Bent. We just covered who owns the water. Of course, the state owns the water. The state, i.e. the people own the water because the people are the state, just like the people are the county. The county's not some amorphous group that sits somewhere up by Tonopah or above Tonopah. And, you know, by this map, you can see that's Tonopah right there. So that's in the center, and there's a lot of county above it. But anyway, what is a misunderstanding by many people is that there's somehow a difference. The republic works this way. You vote people in to represent you. And in our county, that's 5 county commissioners, myself, Donna, Butch, Frank, and Lorinda. And we all live throughout in places in the county. 4 of us live down here in Pahrump, actually. And all 5 of us are domestic well owners. So we are looking out for your domestic well because we are selfish people like most everybody. We want to make sure that we're not harmed either. Anyway, let's go on. There's another issue that's going to come up. This was another clip from that show.
I think is important to cover here because the argument gets back to what I said earlier. The water underneath the person's property has been ruled by the state Supreme Court, belongs to the property. So if you bought a 1-acre plot of land, the water that's mixed with the soil underneath the property, there's no way to just separate the two, so in a sense it belongs to that piece of property.
Not true. Anyway, former whatever Supreme Court they're referring to was in the 1880s, and people who know, and Mr. Gibson knows because he's a lawyer, courts often rely on precedent. Since then, that's been cleared up. It talks about water percolating through the soil. In my understanding, that's an artesian well. If you have an artesian body of water, water that's bubbling up out of the ground, yes, you own that water. What we're talking about in the plan, by the way, here's the plan. All of these pages, a whole big thing, 21 months, 7 people working on it. Anyway, that's a contention of the well owners. We're going to talk about that because that's where this really is all headed, the private well owners group. That has been thrown out of court, or a judge dismissed it. Now they're appealing their contention that they own the water under the ground. Water rights, one thing, those are rights, many of them certificated, some of them not, who have owned certain acre feet of water. And then there is a private well that you have the right to drill a well and use by current state law up to 2 acre feet of water on your property. Current state law. The county commission cannot cap your wells. We cannot cut that number. Again, we wouldn't do that because we're well owners too. So hopefully that will clear up that, but we're going to talk more about that group coming up. I think we have another clip.
One of the interesting aspects in this plan that's coming out actually paves a way to privatize which once was the public's water.
Where? Where in the plan do we try to privatize what was the public's water? The public's water is the public's water. Water rights holders have rights to certain water. There is a provision in the plan for a water purveyor, a central water purveyor, and that would be the county, so that we would choose where those wells are drilled. So we wouldn't be sucking more water from the valley floor that has been dropping. We would pump from the fan, or we'd try to put some further south in the county, which would be way down here. There we go. I'm not good with green screens, but right way down in the south, because the water flows underground and it flows out. And they make a contention, these gentlemen too, that while there's 20 acre feet recharge, there's 8 acre feet that's passing through and going to the, so what water do you own under your property? This water that's there now, as it flows, that water, as it flows, this water? You have the right to drill a well on more than 1 acre of property and use up to 2 acre feet. Water rights, separate. Water rights in particular, the majority water rights holders have to agree to whatever plan we give to the state engineer. Happens that the 3 separate utilities in this county, own the majority of water rights. They can do a plan without us. They didn't have to sit in this committee. They could have done the plan and ignored us. They agreed to sit in this committee. There were 3 of them on the board. About halfway through the process, we appointed somebody else because somebody dropped off, and he happens to do some work for one of the utilities. It was not a conscious, we're going to stack the group, because that's what they keep saying, oh, the group was unfair. They still were producing a plan. It was going to be sent to us, the county commissioners. It went through the water district. They passed it on to us. And nothing gets implemented unless the Board of County Commissioners votes on it. Because we vote in a plan doesn't mean the plan is implemented. There's money that goes with a plan. We voted in a plan for flood control in this valley in 2008 or 7 or somewhere there, and it was a $315 million or $350 million plan at that time, probably $400 million now. We agreed to the plan, but we've never budgeted money for it. Not going to happen. So if any of this stuff does happen, and if we do agree to some of this plan or all of this plan or whatever the other 4 members of the board and I agree to, well, actually, it only takes 3 to pass. So then we have to fund it. So there'll be more hearings. So you don't have to rush down because 1, we're all well owners, and 2, there's still plenty of hearings to come. Let's hear some more of this.
Now, the overall reach of all of this is that the county wants to form a valley-wide utility. That is a cat that they don't like to see come out of the bag.
Wait, when you say the county, who are you talking about? Because a lot of people, when you say in the county, that may not want
Well, let's just say that we have a staph infection, okay? And we need some medication for it.
It's controlled. There's been 2 efforts in just the last couple of years to purchase utilities. There was an attempt by the county commissioners to buy the Pahrump utility for an exorbitant price, and then they tried to pass. It didn't, because people objected. They wanted to take over I guess it would be a semi-utility that Spring Mountain Raceway was putting in. It was a sewer plant out there. It's not really a utility, but it was encroaching on
That was an attempt
another
for the
utility's
county
land.
to get into the utility
But they wanted to
business.
get into the county wants to get into the utility business. If they get into the utility business, they can then charge you. See, they don't have to go before the PUC and get a rate increase. This is a cash cow for a government if they can control a utility. When I was in Tucson, we were on a private well co-op. We ended up signing it over to Tucson Water and Electric. My bill went from $12 a month to $122 a month, just like that, because
You got off easy.
For the privilege of having
the
the
Tucson raised the rates.
town doing it.
Well, you got to
You don't have
understand
any
that
control over this.
government is not subject to PUC. The Public Utilities Commission only watches over private utilities that don't gather their customers. Government entities, they can set their rates, whatever will keep them in the black.
So they want to get into
As far
utility
as getting a district, all they need is about 2 square inches somewhere in this valley, and they can annex in the rest overnight.
That's so funny. Here's a news flash, gentlemen. The county is in the utility business. We run 17 water systems. We run a full water and sewer system in Gabbs. We are in the utility business here in Pahrump. The water that is provided to the county complex where planning, public works, and building and safety is, where the town office is, that little thing called Petrick Park, that is run by the county. Overnight? What in the world can we ever do overnight? We got a notice, we have to have public hearings, they're done here, they're in your own valley, in your own backyard, and they're overseen by those people you elected to represent you, the 5 of us that I won't mention again, who make those calls. We're desperate to get in the utility business? We are in the utility business. Let's correct another misfact here, another misstatement. We tried to buy 2 utilities. No, we didn't. Pahrump Utilities asked us to buy them. We looked at them for a year and a half. A year and a half, we looked at all their books, we looked at their infrastructure, we looked at everything, and the county, the board overall, voted not to take it. The board overall voted not to take Pahrump Raceway, which was offered to us at $4.5 million utility system they're putting in there. that would have provided water and sewer to the fairgrounds that we could finally build out, that was shouted down by people like these two. Mr. Bent put out a white paper on the Pahrump Utilities thing with a bunch of facts that never came true. You know, they were going bankrupt and it was horrible and whatever. So, my God, get some of your facts right, will you? We're not desperate to get in the utility business. Do I believe we should have? Yes, I believe we should have, because they bring up a good point. The county's not subject to the PUC. That's right, we wouldn't be. Let's put them side by side. A private utility is owned by private individuals or a company. A municipal utility, town or county, let's use county for this, is owned by the county, which is, we've already discussed, the people. The people own this. Now, both of us would be, the private utility is overseen by NDEP, the municipal utility, NDEP, that's Nevada Department of Environmental Protection. The private utility, then, further, is overseen by another government agency called the Public Utilities Commission, where they have to look at every rate increase and everything and decide whether they can do it. And by the way, one of our companies is looking for another increase, and they've already doubled your rates in the last 10 years. And those hearings are in Las Vegas at their headquarters in Las Vegas, PUC, and occasionally they have one up here where they get the public come up and we say don't raise your rates, and they go ahead and raise them anyway. So if the county owned it and we wanted to raise your rates, our hearings would be right here in the chambers where we have meetings twice a month anyway. If you don't like what we did, you can vote us out. If you don't like what these guys did, tough luck. You can't vote in the PUC. You can't vote them in or out. You can't vote in the owners. So which is more government control? Oh, by the way, the private utilities also have to answer to county laws and regulations too, not just the state ones. So there's an extra layer of government. So when they say we're going to grow government by having a private utility, think about that. Who's doing what? I think it would be best if we had one system, one purveyor in the valley, and it was you and I who owned it and who could vote in or out those people who run it. And that would be your elected officials. I don't for the life of me see why this is such a horrible thing. So we're going to come up against a break again, so I'm not going to go into the last part. We're going to have 3 segments of this, and I apologize to you for that. But believe me, stick around for EMS Director Vance Payne. He's well worth the wait. He's going to tell you about what's going on, what went on with the floods and the fire at U.S. Ecology. But this is such an important issue. Municipal versus private utility. Stick with us. We'll be right back.